Hello and welcome to the morning after show presented by betonline.ag. My name is Joshua Reimer. I'm joined by none other than Jared Block, who's over on my right. Jared, it's Friday. It's technically my Monday. So how'd my weekend go?
Weekend last couple days was great. NBA has not lost since you've come back, so
Nice.
you can feel free to take another day if you want to. Uh,
Sure. Hey, why not?
no, it's been hectic as usual. The one thing I've noticed is that we can talk about this probably for the next several weeks because it affects a lot of things, including the March Madness tournament. Is that the COVID cases just don't exist right now?
Yeah.
Um, Devin Booker's probably been the only guy that we've talked about over the last couple of days that's been on the COVID list from any team. So we had some issues with Jimmy Butler last night, so he was a scratch. Trae Young played on the ankle. Jaylen Brown did not, and LeBron continues to play through all of his injuries. So kind of a mixed bag of things like that, but the last couple nights have been very good to NBA members.
Yeah, it's good to hear. It's good to see for sure. I know Sean ended up making a pivot. That pivot ended up cashing. I know you cashed in GBPs on both of your last 2 days filling in. So it's been a good 2 days for the NBA crew, and hopefully we can make it a good week for the NBA crew, considering that we only have like a month left until NBA is done, which kind of blows
Mhm.
my mind because this NBA season just flew by. But NBA about to be done in about a month.
Yep, I think it's roughly like I don't know. We have probably 30 slates left,
Yeah.
so somewhere around there. It's gonna be crazy. I'm just looking over all these college basketball scores because it's that time. I'm almost my entire consumption is gonna be based around this now, which is I love to see it. So
No.
nobody likes to dive into all these little tiny tournaments, but that's something I like to do a lot. So that is what I'm currently looking at. I was scanning to see if there's any upsets, and we only have one. So
Interesting.
only one so far. But yeah, anyway, we have a lot to cover today. A little bit of a shorter show. Breaking news that just happened 20 minutes before we came on. So let's get to all of it.
Yep, let's do it. Let's start with the NBA recap and talk about everything that happened last night in a very close matchup between the Celtics and the Grizzlies. We saw the Celtics come out on top, 120 to 107. Close game. I was very interested to see how this game ended up because we've seen a lot of things from the Celtics. We've seen a lot of things from the Grizzlies this year. And, I was curious to see where things landed. But Celtics getting a really good win without Jaylen Brown. How much does this win mean to you? Because for me, I feel like it means a lot. You just faced off against a Grizzlies team that's number 3 in the West and just had a resounding win against them without your second best player.
Yeah, I think it's the big thing for me is the Celtics momentum right now. They have moved their way up into the top 5 seed. There are only two, or I guess one game behind the Bucks now. 8-2 in their last 10. Big win last night. This was one of two games where I thought there was a little bit of a red flag for the spread, which it was Celtics minus 2.5, and I was thinking, why is it like that when it's just Jason Tatum? And then obviously they have a lot of other guys, but the main thing for me is that while Ja has been an ultimate highlight superstar, the Celtics are probably one of the worst teams that he can face, given what he tries to do best. In that, I used your drive take yesterday on this
Nice.
and had him be my biggest fade of the night. So that was a little bit of a channeling of Josh energy to get that spread right.
You love to see it. Yeah, that drive take is ideal, and not a lot of people around the industry talk about it, but it's a really good stat to use. By the way, good morning, Seal Burr in the chat. How you doing, man? But yeah, I would have said the same thing on the show, right? We know that John Morant mainly is a player who likes to drive into the paint. If you watch his style, you can very well tell that, and it wouldn't make much sense to put him up against a Celtics team that has a very solid interior and has all season long. So I can definitely get behind it. You're right. It's one of the worst spots you can put him in. He shot a lot of threes last night, which I guess was the most
He did.
surprising thing because you don't usually see Josh shoot like 10 plus threes, but he shot 10 last night. He actually did pretty. I mean, hitting 4 out of 12 for
He
him,
did
I
pretty
feel
well.
like is a pretty
Yeah.
successful night for John Morant.
Yep.
But not enough to get the job done clearly, and they ended up losing, which is, like I said, a big win for the Celtics, and I think for the Grizzlies, it's just fine at the end of the day. I really want to see what this Grizzlies team looks like with Dylan Brooks back. I think that's a big piece that they're still missing. And once he does come back, it's a difference maker for that team.
It should be. I just hope that they're able to continue the momentum with him and not kind of get slowed down by the addition of having him back in the fold there. So, vintage night for Al Horford. Played 40 minutes, the most out of anybody in this entire game. And the stat line showed that he's still able to do things. So that was a
Nice.
surprise to me. He was in winning FanDuel tournament lineups last night. Um, Fairly cheap. I think he had like 55 FanDuel points or something, which is a nice game for him. Marcus Smart double, and yeah, I mean, there's not much to talk about here. The one thing that was kind of weird is that they did start Aaron Nesmith for Jaylen Brown, and he did nothing. So
Yeah.
I kind of figured that they might try to slide Derek White into the starting spot, but they did not. So very interesting strategy there. Celtics, big win for them, like I said. They're kind of coming out of nowhere, and they've been arguably the hottest team since the second half of the break came started last week. So 8-2 in their last 10 games, and now they're creeping up on Milwaukee for that 4 seed.
Yeah, that's what good defense will do for you, right? At some point in the season, it's bound to all come together. And I mean, 4.5 games out of first, I would say it's a long shot to say that they're going to get first place in the conference, but it's at least possible, right? Like you just had the Bulls lose last night. We've seen the Bucks be a little bit shaky recently. 76ers are going to be the 76ers. The Heat get Oladipo back, so that should be interesting to see what that looks like. The top of the East, honestly, just 1 through 8 is still relatively close. I would say 1 through 7 with the Nets being back 10 games, but the whole East is really close, and I feel like first is still up for grabs for whoever wants it.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know if you saw. Speaking of the Heat, did you watch the Bucks and Heat game on Wednesday?
I did not, but I saw your tweet about it in saying that the Heat got schooled, and I saw a lot of hate for the Heat as well, especially
Oh,
for Jimmy Butler.
yeah, yeah. Well, Jimmy Butler played his worst game of the year on Wednesday
Yeah,
night. The Miami Heat were up most of the game, and then they pulled away by 10 points under 6 minutes. And then we got to the point where, and this is going to be, whether, you can really tell what side of things you're on. I'm very biased on what I'm about to say because there was a specific play in the last 30 seconds that basically changed the game, and a lot of Heat fans were upset about that. So we'll see, what side the chat's actually on for this. But basically, what had happened was the Bucks chipped it away to roughly 3 or 4 points, and then Giannis made a clutch basket. Chris made a clutch three, and then the Heat called a timeout, up one, and it was like under 30 seconds. Tyler Hero had turned the ball over, and then Milwaukee failed to convert on the next shot. So the Heat called a timeout, which meant that they had to take it out on the sideline and throw the ball in. Basically, they got the 5 seconds, but then called a timeout right before they got it, which was controversial. And then they were forced to inbound again. Once that second inbound happened, it went towards Jimmy Butler. He caught it, but as soon as he caught it, Giannis grabbed the ball, and then they went to the floor. Most people thought that should have been a foul, but it was actually called a jump ball. So then it was jump ball with Jimmy Butler having a bum leg during the second half. So
nice.
Giannis got the tip, gave it to Drew. ISO with 6 seconds left, and Drew hit a banker to win the game. So
Oof.
basically, really bad beat for the Heat last on Wednesday, and then they had to follow it up and play in Brooklyn against a debut performance or coming back performance for Kevin Durant yesterday. But if you did not see, that was my favorite spread bet of the day, Milwaukee or Miami plus 1.5,
Yeah, man.
because I'm following the Nets home spread train,
We're
and it
just gonna
worked.
we're just gonna keep smashing this thing, man. Because I did the same
Dude,
exact thing. It was my day off, and I was like, you know what? I see Miami playing away from, or I see the Nets playing at home. Time to take the team who they're going against because I'm willing to load up on this spot from now on. Now that I
yep.
know the trend, and for those who don't know, I think this pushes the Brooklyn Nets to being 6-24 against the
Yep.
spread when at home, which is
The
an
amount of
insane
skepticism, yeah.
number.
The amount of skepticism that I got yesterday for taking the Heat, because that was the hot team, hot topic of conversation for DFS, because PJ Tucker got ruled out, Jimmy Butler got ruled out, Kyle Lowry didn't play. And I was just like, nope, I'll take Miami plus 1.5. And like,
Nice.
but Durant's coming back. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
They're terrible at home. They're the worst team at home in the league.
And it's not just that 6-24 mark isn't just when Durant was out. It was that's the whole season. That's when Durant was in earlier on in the year. That's when they had Durant and Harden in early on
Yep.
in the year. Like this team just isn't a good home performer. So yeah, it's something to take account of and something that I think I'll be betting on nearly every day whenever I see the Nets at home. All right.
Yep.
Let's talk about everything else that happened in the NBA last night, including maybe your take finally coming true. We saw the Chicago Bulls come out in unimpressive fashion, lose to the Hawks. Things stayed close. I actually had a bet on the Bulls to win this game, so I was kind of upset that they did not. But 124 to 130, Hawks end up winning. It was close all the way throughout, but the Hawks really just pulled away in the fourth. How concerning is this for the Bulls? Because they've been losing games recently. We saw them lose this game. Obviously, they lost to the Heat recently. They lost to the Grizzlies. They've been losing games left and right here as of recent. So, is this really concerning for the Bulls, or is this just a bump in the road?
No, I think it's just a bump in the road. The teams that they've lost against in the last like 3 weeks are all playoff teams. So I'm really not, except for the Hawks. That was probably the only blunder. But yeah, they losing the Sixers and Suns before the break, and then they went on a winning streak a little bit. Then they lost to the Grizzlies, Heat, and Hawks last night. They do play the Bucks today, which is concerning for but this spot definitely kind of is going to feel like another playoff game for them. So they're not full strength, and that's probably something to point to. But at what point can we say that that's just everybody's dealing with the same thing? So I don't know. Is Lonzo and Caruso really the thing that they're missing right now? Because I think that's probably the case. But I wouldn't be shocked to see them lose a couple more games and then turn things around soon because their schedule does ease up a little bit.
I wouldn't be surprised to see that either. I think Lonzo and Caruso are a big deal for this team, especially when you consider how much it impacts the defensive side of the ball. I mean, their defensive rating without Lonzo and Caruso is atrocious, and with Lonzo and Caruso, it's one of the best in the league. So I just feel like those two are such key defenders on this team, such big upgrades compared to playing AO and Javante Green. Like I can't wait
Yeah.
to see them back because I think the Bulls will truly be a powerhouse when they do come back. But right now, this team's someone that you can always attack on the defensive front, and we saw that last night with the Hawks putting up 130 points.
Yep. Great night from Trae Young coming off of what we thought was a scary ankle injury. So
Well,
shout out to him. Um, the entire field was on Clint Capella, and he did not really disappoint. He had a pretty solid game. I was very curious to see how this was going to pan out. This basically was one of my hotter takes for the night last night. If Trae Young had sat, then I thought that Clint Capella was one of the worst plays on the slate. But if he plays, then it's a different story. So turned out to be the different story. He did well again against Vooch. And Vooch did the same against Capella. So maybe that's a matchup to watch here as things unfold. But I don't know. I think that the Bulls will struggle against teams that have playoff records, and they do have a lot of them. I'm curious to see how a Bulls Celtics matchup might come about because that seems to be another one that we could see here as the season progresses. So if the Celtics move or lose a game and drop to where the Cavs are right now, that could be an interesting series. I don't want to see a Bucks Celtics series. I don't. It's like we got
yeah.
eliminated by the Celtics like 3 years in a row, right before the Heat took us out in the bubble. So yeah, I don't want to see that anymore. But we can probably move on. We've talked a lot of NBA already. So
Yeah, we have. I guess yeah, we talked enough NBA. We could talk about the Lakers, but they lost. We get it. They always lose right now. Man, it's so infuriating to watch this team because I saw them in half. Things were close. I think the score ended up being like they were down by 5 or something. And I went to the Batman movie last night, and it was
ooh,
late night. It was a late night movie. It was at like 11 p.m. Wish I did not go that late because I'm exhausted right now. But late night movie. So basically, when we sat down in our seats, it had just hit halftime, and it was super close. And I was like, Lakers are going to pull this out, man. Like, I'm already having a good betting night. Let me go over to Bet Online and live bet this one the second half. Let me take the Lakers to win this. And I got crushed. I got crushed in that second half. So it's all right. It is what it is. But Lakers just look really bad right now. And the fact that they got outscored 40-18 in the third was just, oh man, it feels like you're coming to the end here with this Lakers team. It feels like at some point soon, they're going to tell LeBron to just sit out the rest of the year.
I will give you some comedic relief to help this a little bit. S. Goodman in Discord said last night after the Miami spread won that he also degen bet live
Yes.
Lakers spreads of 22.5 and 26.5 in the fourth quarter and barely sweat that thing out.
Nice.
So he won all of those. Betting 26.5 down in the fourth quarter and alive is just kind of pure degen mode.
Pure degen mode, 100%. Absolute degen mode. All right, let's get on and talk about the rest of the sports world that has been happening.
Wait. They scored 6 points in the third quarter?
No.
Is that
They
real?
scored 18 points in the third quarter.
Okay.
Wasn't that bad. They got outscored 40-18 was what I said.
Okay.
I know Gusti said they scored 6. They did not score 6. They scored 18. So
I
at
was
least
gonna say.
they scored 6 points in the third quarter, then I don't even know what I'd be doing this morning. Let's talk about UFC 272 because yesterday was one of the most interesting, absurd, obscure press conferences I think I've ever seen in my life.
It was weird. Yeah.
It was weird. It was unenjoyable in my opinion, and it kind of highlighted why this was a really weird main event to make. I understand the idea behind it and thinking that hopefully it was something like McGregor and Poirier, but it's nothing like that. And I don't think a lot of people see it like that. I hear a lot of people saying that you're an idiot if you're going to spend $75 to watch this pay-per-view. I almost feel the same way because man, it was a bad press conference. It was very cringeworthy in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, it was interesting to say the least. As somebody who doesn't really watch the press conferences, it just felt like, honestly, like a high school cafeteria. That's kind of what it
Yeah,
felt like.
man. Yeah, that is a great way to put it right there. A high school cafeteria, 100%. I'm wondering if I can get this up on Twitter because I tweeted something out this morning and I felt like it perfectly. Well, I don't think I'll be able to play it on here, but I'll try to get the link in here that way so you guys can see it and you guys can go check out the tweet. But it was just like Colby and Jorge going back and forth, and Colby was like, "You had an Obama phone back in the day," and Jorge was like, "No, I didn't. No, I didn't." And he was like, "Yes, you did. Just admit it." And it's like, like what in the world am I watching? Because this is just, it's weird, man. It is just plain out weird. So I don't know. It wasn't what Dana expected. I feel like it should be interesting to watch. I think it'll be a lot of fun. But man, that press conference left a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah, it was weird to say the least. I mean, the one thing that I'm interested in seeing is Greg Hardy coming back. I
Yeah.
also saw that Kevin Holland looks really good
Yep.
coming in. So I'm interested in some of those. Did we have somebody who got COVID and the fight got canceled? Did I see that right?
I haven't seen anything yet. I haven't looked at anything yet for today though, so it definitely could have happened. Here, I can check really quickly. Um, no, I don't think so. But
Okay,
oh,
well, it was a
no.
couple days ago.
Oh yeah, Fiziev tested positive for COVID
That's
against
who it was. Yeah.
Rafael dos Anjos. But we got the replacement for that fight. It's Renato Moicano is going to replace Fiziev. That fight looks a lot worse now compared to what it was before, but definitely takes this card down a notch.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still solid. What they did with the prelims and the early prelims definitely helps things just a little bit more.
Yeah. One sad thing that we just had fallout, or maybe we had it fall out a while ago, but we found out that Manion Fiora wasn't going to fight in this one. She's like one of my favorite women's fighters in the MMA. Super high action, punch like an incredible boxer. I would have really liked to see her fight, and she's not going to be able to fight due to an eye injury. So we'll have to see. Hopefully she's able to come back soon because, like I said, I do really like what she brings to the octagon. it should be a really good card, right? You still have Bryce Mitchell. He's going to be wearing the camo shorts this weekend, just like he usually does. Um, like I said, the RDA fight versus Renato, Kevin Holland. You still have Greg Hardy coming back. You still have Jalen Turner, who's an up and coming prospect. Maria Agapova is a person who's been really high in a lot of people's minds. And then Umar Nurmagomedov. Like, there's good fights to be had here throughout the card. It just feels like it got taken down a notch.
Sure. Is it weird to see Tim Elliott and Brian Kelleher in early prelims?
A little bit, but no, just a lot. It just really, I mean, especially Tim Elliott, a guy who's went for the belt before. Like, to see
Sure.
him as the third fight on the card, I understand why they did it. Probably a lot of people are going to tune in for that one. Tim Elliott, a really well known name in the flyweight world, but yeah, it definitely does feel a little bit weird to see both of them so early on this card. But I mean, they wouldn't deserve a main card spot either with the guys you have right now.
Sure. Is it just like a turn of the tides kind of thing? I mean,
No.
he really hasn't had that many statement wins in the
Yeah,
last year and a half. So I guess it
No, he
makes sense.
definitely hasn't. It's definitely been. I mean, after he lost to Figgy and Askarov and Royval, things kind of went downhill after that. So, hopefully Elliott can make his way up, but it'll still be interesting to watch those fights because both of those guys are still competitors, especially when they're playing that gatekeeper role, and that's kind of what they have to do against Tagir Ulanbekov and Umar Nurmagomedov. All right, anything else for UFC 272? If not, let's talk about the news we got this morning about 20 minutes before we went live.
I just want to address that. Gusti said, didn't Greg Hardy use an inhaler mid fight last
Yeah,
time?
yeah, he did.
Did he?
Not last time he fought. No, it was a while ago. It was like one of his first UFC fights, and it was between rounds. And he used an inhaler, and the ref came over and was like, "Nah, you can't do that. That's not allowed whatsoever." And fight got canceled, and he lost due to a no contest, or
Oh
I think
no.
he had a no contest or something. Regardless, though, it is a different Greg Hardy now. I still usually fade Greg Hardy, but it should be interesting to see him fight against Sergey Spivak. So it's going to be a good fight card. I'll have content posted for it like I always do. Going to do film session with the season pass members today. Going to do a podcast tomorrow, and it's going to be a good time. So make sure to sign up for that UFC product if you haven't already. All right. Let's talk about the NFL offseason, Jared. Let's talk about everything going on this morning. We got the news that Amari Cooper is likely to be cut by the Cowboys, freeing up around $20 million in cap space. I don't know if that's necessarily true. All I know is he was guaranteed $20 million next year. I don't know how much this frees up for him, but you and I kind of talked about this before the show. A little bit of a head scratcher, right?
Definitely is. I'm not sure what the whole goal is here. Maybe it's something we don't know. Maybe I'm just out of touch a little bit from the NFL news. I don't. Who knows? Because I didn't see this at all.
Yeah.
And you told me about it like after I didn't even see the breaking part before we came on the show. So it definitely just I haven't had much time to think about it. But the one thing I saw yesterday was that Blake Jarwin's going to miss. He had hip surgery from not even a football related thing. So he's going to be out for the majority of the season this next year. And so the whole franchise tagging of Dalton Schultz makes a lot of sense. And maybe they just saw all this coming from their weird exit to the offseason.
Yeah, man, it's super interesting because I didn't see it coming either. I saw reports about it, and I saw the fact that Jerry Jones was commenting on it, and he was like, "We're still in contact with the Amari Cooper's camp, and we're still trying to figure out a solution." But it was like I saw it, and I was like, "That's absurd! Like, come on, there's no way that Amari Cooper gets cut. Like, it just doesn't make much sense to me. He's still a good player. He's still a solid wide receiver. If it's a cap space thing, maybe you should cut the guy that you just paid 20 million plus at the running back position who can't stay healthy for his life. Something that you said, it's kind of incredible to think that Amari Cooper got cut and Zeke is still on this team right now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's a head scratcher for me because you obviously have a clear better back in Tony Pollard behind him, but they like their double running back thing, even though it's failed them miserably the last couple seasons. So who knows what the Cowboys are going to do? All I know is that CD Lamb was already drafted pretty high in season boards, and now he's about to probably go first round, second round for the next couple seasons.
Yeah, I was about to say, what does it look like for CD Lamb? How much does this affect his stock? Because that was the question I posed on my tweet. Was
I
that I feel like it does affect him in some sort of way.
I mean, he was already arguably the number one or two hyped wide receiver coming into this year, and
Hmm.
I would say he. We never really talked about this, but how do you feel like that pulled through enough this year? Because I think you can make cases that maybe it didn't pay off as much as you thought it would.
I'm
But
curious to
uh,
see where he ranked in
yeah,
PPR leagues.
I
I'm
would
about to
I
go
would
look
love
at it.
to know because if you look at the actual pricing of the fantasy sites, I think my first answer would be it didn't pay off. But at the same time, he came up huge in a lot of spots. But uh, moving forward, I think that his role, he's just going to be locked into a spot where he gets double-digit targets for the Cowboys. I think it's tough to say, but I don't know if he necessarily. I think he's going to be very, very overhyped for a long time, and that's because he plays for the Cowboys. Because he's going to move into a wide receiver one role, where if Cooper leaves and you have Michael Gallup hurt, then it's like it's literally him and Schultz, and like mixing a couple of guys here and there. So can he live up to the hype? Sure. I just think that people will probably skyrocket this a little bit too much.
I think the best comment of the day comes from Bacon23 saying the Cowboys are like your average fantasy players play Zeke because of the name. Yeah, that's about right. That is head on there. Yeah, so last year CD Lamb was the 19th ranked wide receiver in PPR and the 13th ranked wide receiver in standard. So I don't know. That probably doesn't pay off. It certainly doesn't pay off a second round price tag. Probably doesn't pay off a third round price tag. Honestly, like that's pretty low down there. Honest, I would expect more from him this season. It should be interesting to see. I would like to see him a whole year with Dak, right? Like we had Dak in and out this season too, so
Sure.
that
Yeah.
concerns me as well.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely concerning there. That is what it is. I think Lamb. I think I agree with Chat CLP. He says that he likes Lamb better with Cooper there. I think I do too. I really do. But I guess we'll see how they approach that. And is there just something I'm missing? Because both you and Fatty said he goes to New England. I mean, is that where everybody's kind of pointing this towards?
I think so. I think that's where people want. I feel like there's former connections there with him and Belichick. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something I was missing, but I know a lot of people are saying that he's going to go to New England. But there's a lot of places he could go,
Interesting.
right? Like he could go to the 76ers, he could go to Green Bay, he could go to a multitude of different places. And yeah, I don't know. I just know there's a lot of people who want a wide receiver this season.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
usually getting them
Yeah,
through the draft too.
sure. I think Cooper's an underrated talent, and I think I would have. I was rostering Cooper over CeeDee Lamb in a lot of spots later in the
Yeah.
season. So I don't know. It's an interesting decision. I think that wherever he goes, he should benefit the team. It's just if he goes to the Patriots, I'm probably out on him for a while.
Yeah, it's rough if you go to the Patriots just because of that system. Life Augusti says, does he go to the 76ers? Hey, that I mean, at least one person laughed. That was a good one, Life Augusti. I like it.
Uh,
All right. I think we're done. Well, do you want to talk anything about the combine yet? I feel like the combine has gone so under radar, but we saw wide receivers work out yesterday, and it was
yeah.
really entertaining to see them work out. I have a few notes from a few guys that I think are interesting. I think the overall consensus, though, is that Christian Watson out of North Dakota State is really talented and really popular right now. And he had
Mhm.
a phenomenal draft day.
Yeah, he looked really good. A couple of receivers definitely stood out. I'm, more of a bias. I'm not really watching the combine. I'm more watching just like who's interviewing who and stuff like that. And there's definitely some interesting things circling around. Also, we thought we had a combine record, but we actually did not.
Yeah.
Tyquan Thornton from Baylor had a posted a 4.28. It's actually, it was what I think it was 4.21 was
Hmm.
the unofficial time, and then they moved it back. John Ross's record still stands at 4.22, but that was awesome to see that. Rich Eisen was losing his mind on Twitter and social media. So another thing to keep an eye on is the Chris Olave time was also pretty impressive. So
Yes.
I think that both of those guys kind of vault themselves up the rankings just a little bit. And I don't think that you're reaching with either of those two. But the guy that I do think people reach on, who jumped up tremendously, 20 plus picks for what I saw, Malik Willis.
Interesting. I don't know if I agree with that, but that is certainly an interesting case. I will say my one take from all the combine stuff is that Traylon Burks metrics really scared me. The fact that I understand he's 230 pounds. I understand he's a big dude, a big bulky wide receiver, but he ran a
Yeah,
4.55. Like that is really slow. I expected that
yeah,
sub 4.5 and around the mid fours. So it was a rough day for him at the combine. His vertical was one of the worst verticals among the wide receiver class at 33 inches. I don't know. We'll see what happens with Burks. I personally really liked him coming into dynasty drafts this year, but I feel like that combine left a sour taste in my mouth for Burks. So it should be interesting. Left a sour taste in my mouth for Burks when I had a lot of positive outlooks on guys like Watson, like Olave, like a few other guys that really proved their spot and definitely stepped up in a good spot as well.
yeah. Yep. I agree with you. I'm let's see I'm keeping up in the chat here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we mentioned the North Dakota kid or and then Goose, you said, are we keeping Zadarius Smith? No, I don't think we are. I don't think the Packers have the money to do that. Which, by the way, the NFL posted or released. I don't think it's official, but the numbers leaked out for the cap for next year. So
Interesting.
I believe it's like the Packers got like 5 mil, so I don't know what percentage that means as far as the new cap. So I guess we'll see how it goes, but that's going to make things. It just kind of coincides with the draft and the combine and all that stuff that's happening right now. So
Um,
the one thing I did see that I want to get your take on, we talked about this before this news and stuff came out for Kenny Pickett, but we were just kind of talking about the Steelers and who we'd rather have as a QB, and I think personally, I think Jameis Winston ends up going over there.
really.
But that's just me. I also think Deshaun Watson could be a destination for him. Maybe Jimmy G ends up going over there as well. I think he fits better with the Colts, but he could go to the Steelers as well. But yeah, this whole thing that came out was that Kenny Pickett's hands are the smallest in any QB in the NFL.
Wow, that's interesting. Not something that I expected, but makes. And we always focus on those hand sizes, right? Like it
Yeah,
feels like
it's
something we
stupid,
talk about
but
every year,
yeah,
but yeah, it is
it's
stupid.
it's it's dumb, but people, and I think that people do. I think it's important to an extent, but people definitely take that and run with it.
Yeah, they certainly do. Should be interesting to see where he gets drafted off of that and see how much it affects his stock. All right, that's it for NFL offseason talk. Let's talk about some more college basketball. What do we have to talk about on the college basketball front, Jared?
Lots of tournaments are underway. We have a few of them wrapping up. I was looking at the earlier part of the show to see if we had any upsets whatsoever, and we only have one, and that is in the Sun Belt tournament. Little Rock, a number 12 seed, took down South Alabama, a number 5 seed. So
Nice.
the 12-5s even come in during the conferences. So we'll have to see how that all shapes out, what that actually means moving forward, because honestly, whoever wins those tournaments is the only bid that they're going to get. So trying to think of like who else we can keep an eye on. I mean, it looks like Cleveland State's going to make their way to the Horizon League final. Uh, Kansas got their revenge on TCU in a regular season game yesterday and almost lost again. Um, I did lie. There was one more. Sun Belt also another upset. Georgia Southern beat Coastal. So
Hmm.
I'm guessing that's Coastal Carolina. But
Yeah.
we'll. I guess I don't really. I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to like scope out these smaller tournaments to see if there's anything we can look at for the next 2 weeks because somebody in this is going to be a sleeper for the tournament.
Always is, right? Someone who gets that spot from the tournament ends up being that underdog of the tournament. So will be interesting to watch some of these guys play and see how they do throughout the next few days. I guess the only thing that I have to highlight from men's college basketball is the fact that we have Coach K's last regular season game this weekend. I think on
Yep.
Sunday. That's why I wore the Duke hat today, was because of that. I don't know if you saw this. We talked about it on Monday. The lowest price ticket for the Duke game is $3,000. That has climbed all the way up to $5,500 according to today's stats. That's incredible, man. Like that's a lot of money to pay for one game.
Agreed. But is it worth it? I don't know. I
I
mean,
don't
I think
know.
it
I
may.
mean, like, what was I wonder. I'd be curious to see what Kobe's last game went for, price wise.
Ooh, I mean, yeah, I think that's two different things. But
Yeah, I guess.
no, North Carolina Duke at Duke for Coach K's last game makes a lot of sense. Bacon says yes. I don't know if that's
Oh, that's a yes too.
in relation to that, but
Maybe.
yeah, if you are like for me, I probably would not pay it.
Yeah.
But it's just if you are a diehard fan or love the rivalry or are on the East Coast an ACC fan, then it makes a lot of sense.
Yep, for sure. All right, let's get out of here, Jared. Or before we get out of here, let's do our NHL blind dogs like we always do. No clue how I did back on Wednesday, but we're gonna roll with it and find some blind dogs for tonight.
Okay, I knew that, so I definitely tried to pick. I don't even remember what I picked on Wednesday.
You picked like
Let's
a
see.
minus 101. I remember
I,
that. I remember they were as close to being a favorite as you could get without being a favorite.
I know you picked the Kraken, so you won.
Oh, night 2-1, baby. Let's go. Great way to
I
start
don't.
out the year.
The only team that it was a home team too, so it had to
It
have
was the
been Dallas,
Minnesota
right?
Wild, right?
On Wednesday?
I think so.
Well, they didn't play Wednesday.
Okay, never mind.
I definitely picked the Wild on Tuesday and they got smoked.
Yeah, 5-1. I just saw that in the chat.
So I don't know, chat. I don't know what I did the other day, and I'm just gonna say that I did not pick the Toronto Maple Leafs as the only home team that lost. So I'm gonna my luck. I probably did pick the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that I picked the Dallas Stars.
There's no
So I
way the
could be
Maple
wrong.
Leafs were underdogs in. I mean, the Sabres are like Sabres suck, right? Like they're a really. I feel like I knew they were a really bad team. Maybe it was the. I have a
Wow.
feeling it was the Dallas Stars. I have a feeling you picked the Stars and
Okay.
they won 4-3. That sounds about right. So, well, man, we'll have to. It was a good. It was a good win for you. I think it was a good win for me. Let's hope to get another winner here. Who are you taking as your underdog today?
Yeah, I'm getting poked by one of my buddies in the chat.
Uh huh.
Mickey's dad. He says pick Buffalo, so I'm gonna trust him on this one.
All right, go for it. Pick Buffalo. That's a good pick, I guess. I am gonna take the just always trust the home dog. We're going Anaheim Ducks plus 106. It always works out. I see what's happening in the chat. Good times in the chat for sure. All right, let's get out of here, Jared. Any final notes before we get off the stream and we're back on Monday?
Yeah, just keep an eye on UFC 272 stuff. We have a
No.
promo running for that. And like I said yesterday on the NBA podcast, it's a good time to get exposure to other sports while we kind of just wait this whole MLB thing out. But we feel fairly confident, at least I do, that it's going to be a season before the month of May.
Yeah. I think I had this take on Twitter, had to pull it down because I had a grammar error. So that's always one of the suckiest things in the world. But I said that they play an opening day is on Jackie Robinson Day. Jackie Robinson Day, the
Hmm,
16th of April. I
okay,
feel like it just works out perfectly for everyone. So,
sure.
also, if you're curious, go look at my Twitter account at RotoRadarRhymer on Twitter. I'm about to retweet something that I found super interesting and talks about how the MLB and the Players Association aren't actually that far apart. They're actually really close to compared to what we keep saying about them on all of the topics that are being discussed right now. So, I think we get this MLB deal done soon. I think we have play in April, and I think it'll be around halfway through April. So should be a good time. Thank you all for coming and hanging out. Again, keep an eye out for UFC 272. Looking to make it 6-1 on FanDuel this week for the whole entire year of 2022. Looking to cash another big parlay potentially. Who knows? But looking to add to an already really good betting record that we have this season. As always, my name is Joshua Reimer. Good morning and good skill.